This week in CIST 2611, we'll look at Chapter 4, Firewall Practical Applications. In this chapter, we're going to look at the requirements for firewalls for single machine, small office, network, and enterprise firewalls. We're also going to evaluate the needs and constraints of individual or company to determine what type of firewall solution is appropriate. And then we're going to compare some firewall solutions. So this chapter is going to build on the discussion in Chapter 3 that we had by examining the practical aspects of firewall selection and use. This chapter covers several specific firewall products, and we'll look at the requirements and their proper uses. So basically, in basic terms, in this chapter, you're going to learn how these commonly used firewalls are set up and configured in your labs as well. The first type of firewall we're going to look at is a single machine firewall. This is a firewall solution that's running on an individual PC. Now, these single machine firewalls are going to have many things in common, such as packet filtering or screening firewalls. They are software-based. They're easy to configure and set up. And they're helpful as a supporting role for network security, but they're not a primary solution. Remember, these are for the individual machines, not for your network. So the single machine firewalls, they target the home user. That's the target market for these. As we mentioned, they are ease of use is characteristics of this. Low cost, maybe even a free download. Also, they're meant for essential security, not high security. And they're available on all the major operating system platforms such as Windows, Linux, or the Mac OS. Windows 10 has a firewall. It has a free, fully functional firewall. Windows 10 firewall will block inbound and outbound packets. You can configure your firewall through the Windows Firewall with Advanced Security app. Also in this, you can apply rules, different rules depending on the traffic source, and it also has a logging feature which is disabled by default. Now, back on the rules, that you can apply these rules differently depending on where the traffic comes from. All right, so 3 areas you can set up rules or profiles. You can set up a domain. That's for those computers authenticated on your domain. You set rules for public for computers from outside of your network. And you can also, you want to treat outside traffic more carefully than traffic coming from another machine in your domain. You can also set up the rules for private. That's going to be the network, the traffic that's from your own computer. Now, administrators should always follow these rules with all packet filtering firewalls. Remember, if you do not explicitly need a port, then block it. Home machines, you can usually block all ports. Individual workstations on the network, you may need to keep some of those ports open to allow for various network utilities across the machines. Also, unless you have a compelling reason not to, always block ICMP traffic because many utilities such as ping, traceroute, and port scanners use the ICMP packets. So it's going to stop port scanners from scanning your system for vulnerabilities. Next, we're going to talk about Windows 10 user account control. This is something that's not going to be a firewall, but it is strongly related to security. What this does, it prompts the user for admin user's credentials if a task requires administrative permissions. So, for example, you can have it set to notify me when I make changes to Windows. Okay, so then if you try to run an exe file, you're going to have a dialog box that should appear asking for permission to make changes. This is something that If you need to change this, you can change your user account settings by going to the System and Security section of the control panel and making changes there. So next we'll talk about Linux firewalls, IP tables. This is the primary firewall for Linux. It monitors traffic from and to servers using tables, which these tables will contain a set of rules that are called chains. Those will filter incoming and outgoing data packets. So in this, when a packet matches a rule, it is then given a target, which could be another chain, or it can be one of the special values such as accept, drop, or return. Now, if it's accept, it's going to allow the packet to pass through. If it comes back with drop, it's not going to let the packet pass through. Return will stop the packet from going through a chain until it goes back to its previous chain. Now, the three tables in their standard chains are packet filtering, network address translation, and packet alteration. So packet filtering, this is the output chain processes outgoing traffic, so it's data that's sent from the machine. Now, also, if your firewall is acting as a router, then only the forward chain applies to the routed packets. Network address translation. This table is going to perform NAT on outbound traffic, and it's going to initiates a new connection. Okay, so this is something that's only going to be used if your machine is serving as a gateway or a proxy server. The packet alterations is only used for specialized packet alterations. It's alters the packets. Okay, so it's often what we call the mangle table because it's going to mangle or alter those packets. It contains two standard chains, and this is something that may not even be needed for many standard firewalls. It is a basic packet filtering. A couple things in this, it does have the ability to block outbound traffic. Now, blocking outbound traffic can limit a machine that's been infected from spreading the virus or Trojan horse, because it blocks this specific port that the virus or the Trojan horse might try to communicate through. It does support ad or pop-up blocking. And you can also scan your home machine through the Symantec website. It also, like I said, is bundled with Norton's antivirus. Now, Norton's antivirus, they also sell a personal single machine firewall. Some advantages of this, besides being bundled with the antivirus, it is easy to use and set up. It's got several extra features, and it also has other IDS-like features that are quite useful. There are some drawbacks to Symantec Norton Firewall. One of them is the cost per copy. And a lot of the features that are done with Norton's Firewall, they can also be done by different separate tools that are free. McAfee Personal Firewall is included with the McAfee Total Protection Suite. It does come in many different versions. You can block outbound and inbound traffic. A couple of things that are included in this that are not in other personal firewalls is tracking. And that allows you to track where an attack is coming from, much like the traceroute command would. And it's also connected to hackerwatch.org. It's going to provide tips and news on current threats and vulnerabilities. Advantages of McAfee Personal Firewall is it does block outbound and inbound traffic. It's easy to use and set up, and it's links to the anti-hacking news and tips. The disadvantage is that it costs between $30 to $50 depending on the version. And once again, some of these extra features in the McAfee personal firewall can be obtained without this product. All right, a small office / home office, also referred to as SOHO. So Norton and McAfee, they have a higher cost. Their solutions are going to be slightly higher than personal firewalls. One that we're going to look at is the Sonic Wall TZ series. Some advantages. First off, this one's going to use stateful packet inspection. Okay, so this is going to be significantly more secure than basic packet filtering. It does have, the Sonic Wall does provide built-in encryption. So all your transmissions are encrypted. It's easy management configuration, and also has built-in NAT as well. Disadvantages of the Sonic Wall: the price. It may be prohibited for small offices on a top budget, and it does require a little bit of skill to configure their firewall. The D-Link 2560 Office Firewall. This is one that's going to be easy to configure, has a web-based interface. It may be a little bit more expensive than the others we've already discussed. It can cost several $1,000s. This is not a single machine firewall solution. Okay, this is a solution that's going to be on your gateway and it's be used to protect your entire network. So one of the advantages of this D-Link is that it's not going to require additional license for additional users. So if your company is set at 20 users and you expand to 50, it does have that scalability. You don't need to purchase additional license for this. So as I said, the advantages of this is built-in reliable encryption. It supports whitelisting and blacklisting. It's built-in intrusion detection systems, built-in antivirus. It does use stateful packet inspections. Combines multiple firewall types. Includes built-in NAT and built-in VPN. Disadvantage of this, though, is it does lack some of the security features the more advanced systems might offer. Now, when we talk about the medium-sized network firewalls, this is going to be defined as 25 users or several hundred users at a single location. With this type of organization, more than likely you're going to have some computer security knowledge or training. Some of your employees will, so you may often have dedicated network administrative personnel. Some of the solutions for a medium-sized network include Checkpoint Firewall or the Cisco next generation firewalls. So look at the Checkpoint Firewall. This is a hybrid between packet filtering and application gateway. It is capable of protecting against sync and oversized packets automatically. Now the cost of these are from $3,000 to $50,000. Some advantages of this: it does have an intrusion prevention system, has protection against zero-day threats, and it does support VPN connections. The disadvantages: it does require at least moderate skill to administer and configure this, so it's not simple to administer and configure. And the cost can be prohibitive for some organizations. Another choice for mid-size, it would be the Cisco next generation firewalls. It does have adaptive security appliances. This is an advanced firewall. Some advantages of this: it does include a VPN. The 5500 series also includes IDS and the IPS, the intrusion prevention system. Has content filtering, unified communication security. Once again, disadvantages of the costs. could be prohibitive, and you also have to have at least moderate skill to configure. One of the big advantages is there is extensive training available for Cisco systems as well. An enterprise network is a large network that is often made up of several local connections, or several local networks connected over a wide area network or a WAN. So think of this as like something that a large corporation or government agencies that would frequently use this type of environment. Now, with these, they're going to be extremely complex security solutions, and you'll have a dedicated team of administrators including the security professionals when working with the enterprise firewalls. So with enterprise firewalls, you're going to have many different types of users, applications, and operating systems. You may have one set running Unix, Linux, one running Windows, one running Macintosh, or a combination of hardwired or wireless network connections. This is not a simple network on this. All right, so in this chapter, we looked at the appropriate firewall solutions and how it's going to correspond in large part to the size of the network. We also went over the fact that there are various solutions available on the market for different size networks. The single machines or personal firewalls are cost effective and easy to set up and administer. Once again, those should not be your main source of security, but more to enhance the security. Small home offices have affordable solutions. They're typically easy to set up and administer with minimal knowledge, while medium and enterprise solutions will require more knowledge for specific to that firewall configuration and administration.